Be ready to listen to your children, even if they have nothing to say.
Buck, I hate you so fucking much. I hate you, you miserable pile of shit. I need to take a break. Then I have to work on that one later. So, Pinkie Apple Pie. As much torment as I seem to go through reviewing my animated atrocities, that's probably actually my favorite review series. It allows me to get out all my anger and frustration, but most importantly, it keeps things around here varied. So far, we've only had one bad episode in Season 4. Which episode that is depends on who you are, but general consensus is that we've only had one dud so far in Season 4. What I'm trying to say is, am I being too nice, or is Season 4 really this good? Because I like this episode too. On the other side of things, chances are the first time I get the chance to be negative, I feel like I might overcompensate. Take my review of Power Ponies. I stand by it, but let me make it clear right now that it's not the worst episode of the show. It's not even in the top 5. Top 10 maybe, but it's not an animated atrocity by any stretch. I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just rambling here. Let's take a look at this episode. This episode starts with Twilight searching through her library and Pinkie Pie pops in because she's Pinkie Pie. Twilight is studying genealogy because she's Twilight. Pinkie Pie finds a scroll, and that tells her that she's related to Applejack? Wait, so did Chancellor Puddinghead and Smart Cookie... No, we are not going back there. Applejack seems to be happy to have Pinkie Pie and her family, and gives what's essentially the grand tour of things that Pinkie already knows. You guys realize that, right?
Ponyville snail can hibernate for up to 48 moons.
If you say moons one more fucking time, I'm going to blow the thing up. But it seems like Pinkie might not be family because the only link between them are smudged. Of course, Applejack wants to find out for sure. The only way to do that is a road trip to their cousin Golden Delicious. Applejack tells the rest of her family to be the best version of her family possible. Hey, as long as Applejack doesn't turn them into a concentration camp again, I don't see a reason to complain. Applejack sees that the wagon is a little overstuffed, and because she doesn't want to be seen as too stern, she lets them take off despite her better judgment. Then we get this episode's song. We all do, since this one was revealed a few months ago, and it's really nice to see the animation finally put to it. I definitely like the song, and it's a nice highlight to the episode. Although it does beg a few questions. Like, what the hell is up with the fucking weather? It ends with the wagon breaking down, and once again Applejack is hesitant to be stern around her family members to make it seem like top form to Pinkie Pie. And Pinkie has an idea, to use the river to get to Golden Delicious's place. When the raft is together, Pinkie Pie takes a photo, and it seems like she's keeping a scrapbook. That is very sweet.
Applejack, when you're family, you make the time.
This episode's mere concept really, well, I guess fascinates me is the best word for it. Pinkie Pie has been stated to have a family that she never talks about, ever. And yet she's extremely excited at the mere possibility of being a part of this family. It raises a lot of realistic questions about Pinkie's backstory, and what really happened that forced her to leave the rock farm, because it clearly doesn't seem to be her fault that she left. And you know what the really great part is? I don't think that any of these hints of Pinkie's backstory were intentional. Eventually they get to a fork in the road and they need the map, but Applebloom accidentally drops it in the water through a song and dance number that we are not talking about. And yet Applejack is still hesitant to scold anyone. This gets even worse when Granny Smith takes the wheel, considering she thinks she knows the river like the back of her hoof. And when Applejack doesn't scold her about it, they end up going through the scariest cave in all of Equestria. The joke is funny, but confused. The scariest cave in Equestria seems like something that you'd remember the location of. The family starts blaming each other and breaking down into a fight. And then the wheel falls into the water.
I just want to say that I think you are all super duper, and I can't wait to make the page in my scrapbook about the amazing waterfall we went down.
Does Pinkie seem to be like in a trance or stoned or something as she says that? Speaking of which, I do suppose her behavior could be a point of contention with this episode. It's like a friend indeed. You can make an argument either way of whether she's in character or not, and I'm not going to be the one to make either of those arguments. Except when they finally make it to Golden Delicious and Pinkie's laughing at the paper because she thinks it looks pretty. You can't argue for that one. Golden Delicious ran off to run some errands and won't be back until later. Pinkie thinks this is a great opportunity to get more scrap paper, and she runs off. Alone, the Apple family starts apologizing for their misdeeds, and they even say that if Pinkie finds out that she's an apple, she doesn't have to feel obliged to consider herself one. That is incredibly mature. Almost as mature as the next part, in which Pinkie says what a family is all about. The only question is, how the hell does Pinkie know what makes a great family, despite not living with blood relatives and never bringing up her rock farm upbringing? Fanfic writers, get on that. Golden Delicious comes up, and she seems to be a bit of a hoarder and a crazy cat lady. Interesting characteristics. There are actually some hints here to Golden Delicious being the missing link between the apples and the pies, and that's the only link we get because the book is also smudged. See how devastated the Pinkie looks when she realizes that she might not be a part of this family? That right there kind of sums up this episode for me. You know, that's the thing about this episode that fascinates me. Like, the story shown here is okay. Pinkie Pie and the Apple family go on a road trip and learn the true meaning of family. Yeah, all that good stuff. But I love this episode more for what it implicitly implies. Pinkie Pie jumps at the first opportunity to be a part of a family, despite never bringing up her own family. Yet she knows exactly how a family is supposed to operate, or at least has an idealized version of what family is. She seems absolutely crushed when she learns that she might not be an apple after all. There's like something Shakespearean going on behind the scenes. And the funny part is that as far as I can tell, this seems to be a total accident. But let me make this clear. I'm ranking this episode for what it is, not for what it could be. It might be bumped up to 5 stars in my Season 4 overview if all this turns out to be actually true, whether or not it was intentional from the beginning, or the staff actually decided to capitalize on this. The episode itself is alright, but definitely seems to be one of the weaker episodes so far. Then again, I don't really know. I feel kinda spoiled with how the season has been treating me so far. The plot is pretty simple, and there are a few things that don't make sense, and the ending may seem like a cop-out to some, but it's got a good sense of humor, a nice moral, and some really touching moments. But still, man, that background stuff.